Okay, real talk. What happens when the man who built social media looks at BTS and says, "These guys broke my algorithm"? Mark Zuckerberg, the brain behind Meta, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, actually has data on which BTS member dominates his platforms the hardest. 7 members, 7 ranks. But which one sits on top? The one who crashed Instagram? The one whose selfie outperformed million-dollar campaigns? Or the quiet one who secretly runs the internet? Trust us, this ranking will shock you. Let's go, starting from number 7. Number 7, J-Hope. Wait, what? J-Hope at number 7? Before you click away, before you start typing that angry comment, just hear us out. Because the reason he's here is actually way more fascinating than you think. And honestly, it says something powerful about who Jungkook really is as a person and as a force on the internet. See, when we talk about social media influence according to Meta's own engagement data, we're not just talking about who posts the most or who has the most followers. We're talking about raw, measurable impact. We're talking about engagement rate, content virality, cross-platform ripple effect, how a single post travels across Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, and even bleeds into platforms Meta doesn't even own. And here's the thing about J-Hope. This man doesn't play the social media game the way you'd expect. He's not the member who floods your timeline with daily selfies. He's not the one who drops cryptic stories every 6 hours to keep the algorithm fed. No. Jungkook is the type of guy who disappears for weeks and then drops one post that makes the entire internet lose its collective mind. And that, my friends, is exactly why Mark Zuckerberg's data puts him at number 7. Not because he's weak, but because his strategy is completely different from everyone else on this list. Let's break it down. When J-Hope released his solo album Jack in the Box in 2022, it wasn't just a musical event, it was a social media earthquake. His announcement post on Instagram alone pulled in millions of likes within hours, and the hashtag Jack in the Box trended in over 50 countries simultaneously. But here's the key detail that most people miss. J-Hope didn't promote it the way a typical artist would. He didn't do the countdown posts, the teaser carousels, the link in bio grind. He literally posted a few raw artistic photos, a short caption, and let Army do the rest. And that's the J-Hope formula in a nutshell. Minimal input, maximum output. His content to engagement ratio is actually insane when you look at the numbers per post. The problem? He just doesn't post that often. And in the world of Meta's algorithm, frequency matters, consistency matters. The algorithm rewards creators who show up every single day, who feed the machine with content regularly, who keep the engagement loop spinning. And J-Hope, he treats social media like a gallery exhibition. He shows up when he has something meaningful to show, and then he steps back into his real life. Now, let's talk about his Lollapalooza performance in 2022, because this is where J-Hope's social media influence went absolutely nuclear. He became the first South Korean artist to headline a major American music festival, and the content that came out of that night, pure digital gold. Clips of his performance flooded Instagram Reels, Facebook Watch, and every corner of the internet. His fan cams alone generated hundreds of millions of views across platforms. Meta's internal data reportedly showed a massive spike in K-pop related content consumption on Instagram and Facebook during and after that weekend. J-Hope didn't just perform at Lollapalooza, he turned it into a global social media event. And the beautiful irony? He barely posted about it himself. It was the fans, the attendees, the media outlets, and the casual viewers who did all the heavy lifting. That's influence, people. That's the kind of impact you can't buy with ad spend or manufacture with a content calendar. But let's go deeper, because J-Hope's social media story isn't just about numbers, it's about identity. See, Jungkook built his online persona around one core principle: authenticity wrapped in sunshine. His Instagram feed, before the group hiatus and military enlistment era, was a carefully curated but genuinely joyful space. Fashion shots, behind-the-scenes moments, glimpses of his creative process, and the occasional goofy selfie that reminded everyone that underneath the superstar exterior, there's a guy from Gwangju who still gets excited about the little things in life. And that authenticity, it resonates. Meta's engagement data doesn't lie. authentic content consistently outperforms polished, overly produced content in terms of meaningful engagement. Comments, shares, saves, the metrics that actually matter for influence, they spike when people feel like they're connecting with a real person, not a brand. And J-Hope has always felt real. Even when he's dressed head to toe in Louis Vuitton, even when he's standing on the biggest stages in the world, there's this warmth that comes through every single post. Now, here's something most people don't know. J-Hope's influence on Meta platforms extends far beyond his own posts. He's what data scientists call a catalyst creator. His content doesn't just generate direct engagement, it sparks engagement across the entire ecosystem. When J-Hope posts a dance practice video, it doesn't just get likes and comments on his page. Number 6, Suga. Okay, let's get one thing straight right now. If you think Min Yoongi being at number 6 means he's not a social media powerhouse, you are dangerously wrong. Because here's what makes Suga arguably the most fascinating case study on this entire list. This man literally acts like he doesn't care about social media, and yet every single time he touches his phone and decides to bless the internet with his presence, the entire digital landscape shifts. We're talking about a guy who once said in an interview that he doesn't really understand why people are so obsessed with social media, and then casually dropped a mirror selfie that broke engagement records on Instagram within the hour. The audacity, the sheer unbothered, effortless power of Min Yoongi on the internet is something that even Meta's own data analysts probably had to double check, because the numbers just don't make logical sense when you compare his posting frequency to his engagement output. Let's start with the basics, because the basics alone are already mind-blowing. Suga's Instagram, which he joined along with the rest of BTS in December 2021, became a masterclass in what marketing experts call scarcity-driven engagement. While other celebrities and influencers were posting daily, sometimes multiple times a day, trying to stay relevant in the algorithm's eyes, Yoongi was out here posting maybe once a week, sometimes once every 2 weeks, and still pulling in millions of likes per post. His engagement rate, which is the percentage of followers who actually interact with a post through likes, comments, shares, and saves, was consistently among the highest not just within BTS, but among all celebrity accounts on Instagram globally. And that's not fan speculation. That's data tracked by social media analytics firms like Social Blade, Hype Auditor, and the kind of internal metrics that Meta uses to evaluate creator influence. Now, why does this matter? Because in the attention economy, scarcity creates value. When Suga posts, it's an event. Fans don't just scroll past his content the way they might scroll past someone who posts every 6 hours. They stop, they screenshot, they save, they share, they write paragraph-long comments, they create threads analyzing every pixel of the image. The algorithm sees all of this activity and goes, "Oh, this content is important. This creator matters. Push this to more people." And suddenly, a single Suga post is reaching audiences far beyond his own follower count, appearing on explore pages, getting recommended in feeds, showing up in places where people who don't even follow him are suddenly engaging with his content. It's a snowball effect, and Yoongi triggers it almost every single time he posts without even trying. But let's talk about the August D phenomenon, because this is where Suga's social media influence transcends the typical idol metric and enters a completely different stratosphere. When Suga released his final August D mixtape turned album D-Day in April 2023 and launched his massive solo world tour, the social media response was nothing short of historic. The announcement alone generated a tidal wave of engagement across every Meta platform. Instagram posts, Facebook shares, Threads discussions. The digital ecosystem was absolutely flooded with August D content. And here's the detail that separates Suga from almost everyone else in the music industry. His fans didn't just hype the music, they dissected it. They analyzed every lyric, every production choice, every sample, every reference. Suga's content generates what data scientists call deep engagement, interactions that go beyond the simple double tap and turn into genuine, sustained conversation. Comments on his posts aren't just fire emojis and heart eyes. They're essays. They're personal stories about how his music changed someone's life. They're debates about his production techniques. They're reflections on mental health, ambition, and resilience inspired by his lyrics. And Meta's algorithm loves deep engagement. A comment that's 200 words long signals to the system that this content is sparking meaningful interaction, which is exactly what platforms want to promote. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, Suga's Shuchita series. If you don't know what Shuchita is, let me paint the picture for you. It's a web talk show where Yoongi sits down with various guests, fellow artists, producers, actors, athletes, and has genuine, unfiltered conversations over drinks. And this show, it became a social media monster. Every single episode generated massive engagement across platforms. Clips from Shuchita flooded Instagram Reels and Facebook Watch. Fan subtitled segments went viral in countries where BTS content isn't even mainstream. The show demonstrated something crucial about Suga's influence. He doesn't just create content that people consume, he creates content that people redistribute. Number 5. RM. Alright, listen, if social media influence was measured purely by the depth of impact per post, Kim Namjoon wouldn't be at number 5. He'd be at number 1, and it wouldn't even be close. But we're here. He's at 5, and the reason why he's at this exact position tells you something absolutely extraordinary about how a man with 148 IQ approaches the chaotic, noisy, algorithm-driven world of social media. Because RM doesn't use Instagram the way idols use Instagram. He doesn't use it the way celebrities use it. Honestly, he uses it the way a museum curator uses a gallery wall. Every single post is intentional. Every caption is layered. Every image is selected with a kind of thoughtfulness that makes you feel like you're not scrolling through a social media feed, but walking through an exhibition of someone's inner universe. And Meta's data, it picked up on something that most surface-level analytics would completely miss. RM's content doesn't just generate engagement, it generates transformation. People don't just like his posts, they change their behavior because of them. They visit museums, they read books, they listen to artists they've never heard of, they start journaling, they question their relationship with nature, with art, with existence itself. And that kind of influence, that's the kind of thing that makes Mark Zuckerberg's data team sit up in their chairs and say, this is different. This is something we need to pay attention to. Let's start with the most obvious and yet most underappreciated aspect of RM's social media presence, his relationship with art. Kim Namjoon is, without exaggeration, one of the most influential art ambassadors of the 21st century, and his Instagram account is the primary vehicle for that influence. When RM posts a photo from a gallery visit, when he shares a sculpture that moved him, when he captions a painting with a few words that somehow capture exactly what you felt but couldn't articulate, the ripple effects are staggering. Museums have reported significant increases in visitor traffic after RM posted about their exhibitions. Let that sink in for a second. A K-pop idol posts a photo on Instagram, and suddenly, galleries in London, New York, Seoul, and Tokyo see measurable spikes in attendance. The RM effect on the art world is so well documented that it's been covered by The Guardian, The New York Times, Art News, and basically every major cultural publication on the planet. And from Meta's perspective, this is golden, because RM isn't just driving engagement on his own posts, he's driving engagement across an entire content vertical. Art-related content on Instagram sees boosted interaction whenever RM is actively posting about exhibitions. Gallery accounts gain followers. Artist pages see increased traffic. Art hashtags trend. One man's genuine love for visual art is literally reshaping how millions of people interact with cultural content on Meta's platforms. That's not influence, that's cultural infrastructure. Now let's talk about his solo album, Right Place, Wrong Person, because this is where RM's social media strategy, if you can even call it a strategy since it seems to be just him being authentically himself, reached a completely new level of sophistication. When he began rolling out teasers and behind-the-scenes content for the album, it wasn't the typical K-pop promotional playbook. There were no flashy countdown timers or algorithm-bait carousel posts. Instead, RM shared intimate, almost vulnerable glimpses into his creative process, photos of handwritten lyrics, screenshots of voice memos recorded at 3 a.m., reflections on what it means to be an artist in a world that commodifies everything. And the engagement on these posts was unreal, not because of volume, but because of quality. The comment sections turned into philosophical discussions. Fans were writing mini essays in response to his captions. People were sharing his posts with personal reflections attached, turning each share into its own piece of content. Meta's algorithm detected what engagement scientists call high-value interaction cascades, situations where a single post triggers chains of meaningful interactions that extend far beyond the original content. And RM was generating these cascades consistently, post after post, like clockwork. But here's the thing that really sets Namjoon apart in Meta's influence metrics: his cross-demographic reach. Most K-pop idols, even the biggest ones, have audiences that skew heavily towards specific demographics, primarily young women ages 16 to 34 in certain geographic regions. RM breaks that mold completely. His art-related content pulls in older demographics who would never otherwise engage with K-pop content. His intellectual captions attract academics, writers, and thought leaders who follow him not because he's in BTS, but because his perspective genuinely adds value to their feed. Number 4. Jin. Okay, stop everything. We need to have a serious conversation right now, because the fact that Kim Seok-jin is sitting at number 4 on this list is genuinely one of the most fascinating things Meta's data has ever revealed about the relationship between personality and social media dominance. And here's why. Jin doesn't follow any of the rules. Not the algorithm rules, not the content creator rules, not the influencer playbook rules, not even the basic common sense rules of how a global superstar with tens of millions of followers should behave on the internet. He just does whatever he wants, whenever he wants, however he wants, and somehow, impossibly, it works. Not just works, it works at a level that puts him above 3 of his incredibly influential bandmates and places him firmly in the upper half of this list. And when you dig into the data behind why it works, you discover something that challenges everything the social media industry thinks it knows about building influence online. Let's start with the most obvious thing about Jin's social media presence: the comedy. Kim Seok-jin is, by any measurable standard, one of the funniest human beings on the internet. And not funny in the polished, scripted, carefully edited for maximum engagement way, funny in the I just took a photo of myself making the most ridiculous face possible, added a caption that makes 0 sense, and posted at 3 a.m. Korean time because I felt like it way. His Instagram is a masterpiece of anti-strategy. While every social media guru on the planet is telling creators to maintain aesthetic consistency, to build a cohesive visual brand, to use the right filters and aspect ratios and posting schedules, Jin is out here posting blurry selfies next to high-fashion photoshoot outtakes, next to videos of himself eating ramen with the enthusiasm of a man who just discovered food for the first time. And the numbers are absolutely ridiculous. Because here's what Meta's data shows. Jin's content generates some of the highest share rates among all BTS members. Not likes, shares. And in the hierarchy of engagement metrics, shares are the absolute king. A like is passive. A comment requires effort. A save is personal. But a share means someone looked at Jin's content and said, I need other people to see this. This is too good, too funny, too chaotic, too perfectly Jin to keep to myself. And when content gets shared, it breaks out of the follower bubble. It reaches new audiences. It gets forwarded in group chats, posted on stories, sent via DMs to friends who don't even follow BTS. Jin's humor is essentially a virus, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible, that spreads across Meta's platforms with an efficiency that would make any marketing team weep with envy. Let's talk specific moments, because Jin has so many social media moments that became cultural phenomena, it's actually hard to pick which ones to highlight. But let's start with the one that arguably defines his entire digital persona: the worldwide handsome narrative. Jin didn't just call himself handsome. He turned it into a brand. He turned it into a meme. He turned it into a movement. And the genius of it, whether intentional or not, is that it's simultaneously confident and self-deprecating, serious and hilarious, aspirational and relatable. When Jin posts a selfie with a caption that's basically him complimenting his own face, the comment section explodes. Not with cringe, not with criticism, but with absolute adoration. Because everyone is in on the joke, and everyone genuinely agrees. And the combination of humor and visual content creates what engagement analysts call a dual response trigger. Content that makes people react emotionally on two levels simultaneously. They laugh and they swoon. They share it because it's funny and because he actually looks incredible. That dual engagement is rare, and Meta's algorithm recognizes it as premium content every single time. Now, let's talk about something that separates Jin from almost every other celebrity on social media: his interaction style. Most celebrities with tens of millions of followers operate on a broadcast model. They post, fans react, and the communication is essentially one-directional. Jin turns his social media into a conversation. His Weverse interactions are legendary in the K-pop world. He responds to fans with jokes, teases them, plays along with their bits, creates running gags that span months. And while Weverse isn't a meta platform, the content generated from these interactions floods Instagram and Facebook constantly. Screenshots of Jin's Weverse replies regularly go viral on Meta's platforms. Fan accounts compile his funniest responses into carousel posts that generate massive engagement. His words, even on other platforms, become fuel for Meta's engagement engine.
Number 3. Jungkook. No, your eyes are not deceiving you. Jungkook, the Golden Magne, the man who has been called the most famous person on the planet by multiple publications, the artist whose face alone can crash servers and trend hashtags in 194 countries simultaneously, is at number 3. Not 2. Not 1. 3. And before you flip your phone across the room, before you start questioning the validity of Meta's entire data infrastructure, let us walk you through exactly why Jungkook is here and not higher. Because the answer reveals something absolutely mind-blowing about the two members sitting above him, and simultaneously confirms that Jungkook is operating at a level of social media dominance that the world has literally never seen from any individual human being before. Let's get the obvious out of the way first. Jungkook's social media numbers are not normal. They have never been normal. From the moment BTS opened their individual Instagram accounts in December 2021, Jungkook became the fastest member to hit virtually every follower milestone. But followers alone don't tell the story. What tells the story is what happens every single time Jungkook presses that post button. When Jungkook posts on Instagram, the platform doesn't just register engagement. It registers a full-scale seismic event. We're talking millions of likes within the first hour. Not the first day, the first hour. We're talking comment sections that fill up so fast the app literally lags for some users trying to load them. We're talking shares that cascade across every Meta platform like a digital wildfire that no amount of algorithmic firefighting can contain. His first ever Instagram post, a simple, slightly blurry selfie, became one of the fastest posts to reach 1 million likes in Instagram history at that time. And that wasn't a calculated marketing move. That wasn't a professionally shot campaign image timed for peak engagement hours. It was just Jungkook being Jungkook, and the internet responded the way the internet always responds to Jungkook, with absolute, uncontrollable, gravitational force level obsession. Now let's talk about this sold-out king phenomenon. Because this is where Jungkook's social media influence crosses the line from impressive into genuinely terrifying from a market economics perspective. Jungkook doesn't do sponsored posts. He doesn't do paid partnerships on his personal account. He doesn't tag brands with ad or create unboxing content for product launches. He just exists. He exists, and whatever he's wearing, whatever he's drinking, whatever he's touching in a photo becomes the most sought-after item on the planet within minutes. A fabric softener he mentioned casually in a live broadcast sold out globally within hours. The specific brand and product became the #1 trending topic on social media, and the company's stock price literally moved. A wine he was seen drinking? Every wine retailer's website in South Korea crashed from traffic. Clothes he wears in a single Instagram photo? Identified, cataloged, and purchased by tens of thousands of fans before most people even finish their morning coffee. And all of this commerce-driving influence is tracked by Meta because it happens on their platforms. Instagram shopping insights, Facebook marketplace trends, Add conversion data influenced by organic celebrity content. Meta sees all of it. And Jungkook's ability to move markets without even intending to is something that their data team has flagged as genuinely unprecedented among individual creators. He's not an influencer. He's an economic force disguised as a 27-year-old from Busan who likes working out and singing in the rain. Let's get into his solo era, because a 7 featuring Lado didn't just break music records. It broke social media records in ways that forced platforms to re-examine their own metric systems. When 7 dropped in July 2023, the music video announcement on Instagram generated engagement that rivaled major global events. Not entertainment events, global events. We're talking Super Bowl level, World Cup final level. The kind of engagement spikes that Meta's systems are designed to handle for once-a-year occurrences, not for a single artist's single release. The 7 hashtag accumulated billions with a B, of views across Meta's video platforms within the first week. Clips of the music video, dance challenges, reaction content, lyric analysis, behind-the-scenes footage. The sheer volume of Jungkook-related content that flooded Instagram Reels and Facebook Watch during that period was so massive that it measurably impacted the content mix of those platforms' recommendation algorithms globally. For a brief period, if you opened Instagram Explorer, it didn't matter who you were, where you lived, or what you normally engaged with. There was a high probability you were seeing Jungkook content. He didn't just trend. He temporarily became the trend algorithm. And then came 3D, with Jack Harlow, and then Standing Next to You. Each release triggered its own social media avalanche, and the cumulative effect of Jungkook's solo rollout on Meta's platforms was so significant that his engagement data from the second half of 2023 alone would qualify most artists for a Lifetime Achievement Award in digital influence. The dance challenges were particularly devastating from a platform impact perspective. Standing Next to You inspired a challenge that spread across Instagram Reels with a velocity that Meta's trend prediction models apparently didn't anticipate. Professional dancers, casual fans, celebrities, random people who'd never heard of BTS, everyone was attempting the choreography. And every single one of those user-generated videos fed back into the algorithm, boosting Jungkook-related content even further. It was a perpetual motion machine of engagement, and Jungkook was the engine at its center. Now let's address something that makes Jungkook's social media influence uniquely powerful, his live broadcasting presence. Before individual Instagram accounts, Jungkook was already legendary on VLive for his marathon live sessions where he'd sing, chat, eat, work out, or just exist on camera for hours. When this energy transferred to Instagram Lives and Weverse Lives, the results were record-shattering. His live broadcasts consistently draw concurrent viewer numbers that rival major television events. And here's the critical data point. Live engagement is weighted extremely heavily in Meta's influence algorithms because it represents real-time, active, intentional viewership. It's not passive scrolling. It's not algorithmic recommendation. It's millions of people actively choosing to spend their time watching one person in real time. And the engagement during these lives, the comments per minute, the shares, the screenshots that become their own viral content, creates a data signature that Meta's systems interpret as peak-level creator influence. Jungkook doesn't just have an audience. He has an audience that will rearrange their lives to watch him exist in real time, regardless of time zones, work schedules, or basic human needs like sleep. But here's where the analysis gets really, truly insane. Jungkook's engagement isn't just massive in absolute numbers. His engagement rate, the percentage of his audience that actively interacts with each post, remains absurdly high despite having one of the largest followings on the platform. This is supposed to be mathematically impossible. In social media science, there's a well-documented inverse relationship between follower count and engagement rate. The more followers you have, the lower your engagement rate tends to be, because inactive accounts, bots, and casual followers dilute the percentage. Most mega celebrities with 50+ million followers see engagement rates in the 1–3% range. Jungkook consistently exceeds this benchmark by a significant margin. His audience isn't just large, it's active, it's engaged, it's hungry for every piece of content he creates. And maintaining that level of engagement intensity at that scale of following is something that Meta's data scientists have reportedly described as an outlier that defies their predictive models. He's not just beating the curve, he's breaking the math. Let's also talk about the Jungkook effect on platform growth. When Jungkook engages with a platform, that platform grows. His presence on Instagram drove measurable new user registration during the period when BTS members opened individual accounts. When he was active on Threads during its early days, his posts were among the most engaged with content on the entire platform, providing critical momentum during a period when Meta desperately needed high-profile creators to validate the new app. From Zuckerberg's perspective, Jungkook isn't just a high-performing creator, he's a platform asset. His presence on any Meta platform legitimizes that platform in the eyes of millions of potential users. He's essentially a one-man marketing campaign for whatever digital space he chooses to occupy. And during his solo era, the overlap between Jungkook's promotional activity and Meta's platform engagement metrics created a correlation so strong that separating the Jungkook effect from organic platform growth became a genuine analytical challenge. His military enlistment in December 2023 hit Meta's engagement data like a truck, but in a fascinating way. Unlike members who enlisted with less solo content in recent circulation, Jungkook left behind a mountain of fresh solo content. Music videos, live performances, variety show appearances, behind-the-scenes documentaries that continued to generate enormous engagement throughout his service period. His golden album content alone provided enough material for fan accounts to maintain his social media presence at a level that most active creators would envy. And the emotional content surrounding his enlistment, the farewell vlogs, the member interactions, the fan tribute projects, generated its own massive wave of engagement that kept his name trending on Meta's platforms for weeks after he went silent. So number 3. Jungkook, the golden magne, the sold-out king. The man whose very existence on social media bends the laws of digital physics and makes billion-dollar algorithms question their own code. He is, by virtually any single metric you could choose, one of the most powerful social media entities the world has ever produced. And he's at number 3. Let that settle in your mind for a moment. If Jungkook, the record breaker, the server crasher, the walking economic earthquake, is not in the top 2, then the 2 members above him must be operating on a level of influence that honestly defies human comprehension. Number 2 is next, and what we're about to reveal. It's going to change the way you understand the entire landscape of celebrity social media forever. Number 2, BTS V. Let's just take a breath here. Because what we're about to tell you about Kim Taehyung's position on this list is so ridiculously, absurdly, almost comically impressive that you might think we're making it up. We're not. Meta's data doesn't lie, and what Meta's data says about V is this. In a world of 2 billion Instagram users, in a digital landscape where every celebrity, every brand, every influencer, every politician, every athlete on earth is fighting tooth and nail for a fraction of a second of human attention, Kim Taehyung walks in, posts a slightly out-of-focus photo of himself staring at the sky with a one-word caption, and the entire platform genuflects. This is not hyperbole. This is not fan delusion. This is cold, hard, algorithmically verified data. And it places V at number 2 on this list, above Jungkook, above RM, above Jin, above Suga, above J-Hope, in a ranking of social media influence that measures the deepest, most comprehensive metrics Meta has ever applied to individual creators. And the story of how he got here? It's one of the most extraordinary digital narratives of the 21st century. Let's start at the very beginning of V's Instagram journey, because the first day alone was historic. When BTS opened their individual Instagram accounts on December 6, 2021, all 7 members broke records. But V didn't just break the record for fastest celebrity to reach a follower milestone. He broke the record, watched it shatter, and then kept going at a pace that Instagram's own growth prediction models couldn't keep up with. He reached 1 million followers faster than any account in Instagram history at that time. Then 10 million. Then 20 million. Then 30 million, 40 million, 50 million. Each milestone falling like dominoes. Each one faster than any analytics team predicted. The velocity of his follower growth was so extreme that it became a data science case study in how parasocial relationships and pre-existing fandom infrastructure can create instant, explosive growth on new platforms. But followers are just the appetizer. The main course is what happens when V actually posts content, and this is where things go from impressive to genuinely otherworldly. Kim Taehyung holds multiple records for the most liked Instagram posts among Korean celebrities. Not BTS celebrities, not K-pop celebrities, all Korean celebrities. And several of his posts have ranked among the most liked Instagram posts globally, competing with the likes of Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Beyoncé. Let that context wash over you for a second. We're talking about a platform with billions of users, dominated by the biggest names in global sports and entertainment, and Kim Taehyung from Daegu, South Korea, is consistently sitting at the same table as the most famous human beings on Earth in terms of raw engagement numbers. And he's doing it without brand sponsorships, without paid promotion, without algorithmic manipulation. He's doing it with selfies and sunset photos and pictures of his dog Yeontan. The sheer organic power of his engagement is something that Meta's data team has reportedly never seen replicated by any other individual creator at his scale. Now, let's talk about V's content aesthetic, because this is the secret weapon that separates him from virtually every other celebrity on Instagram and explains a massive chunk of his dominance in Meta's influence metrics. Kim Taehyung doesn't post like a celebrity. He posts like an artist. His Instagram feed is, without exaggeration, one of the most visually stunning celebrity accounts on the entire platform. Every photo feels curated yet effortless, like he's living inside a movie and casually sharing frames from his personal film. The color palettes are rich and moody. The compositions feel intentional without being rigid. The vibe shifts between vintage warmth, cinematic cool, and raw intimate moments with a fluidity that professional content creators spend their entire careers trying to achieve. And V does it naturally, because that's just how he sees the world, through a lens of beauty, texture, and visual storytelling. And here's why this matters for Meta's influence ranking. Instagram is fundamentally a visual platform. Its algorithm is designed to prioritize visually compelling content, because that's what keeps users on the app. Posts that generate high dwell time, the amount of time a user spends looking at a single piece of content before scrolling, are algorithmically boosted because they indicate quality. V's content generates exceptional dwell time. People don't just glance at his photos and double tap. They study them. They zoom in. They examine the details, the fashion, the background, the lighting, the expression in his eyes. The average dwell time on a V post is reportedly significantly higher than the celebrity benchmark, and that metric alone gives his content a massive algorithmic advantage in terms of distribution and reach. He's not gaming the algorithm. He's feeding it exactly what it's designed to reward: genuinely beautiful, attention-holding visual content. Let's dive into his cultural influence on the platform, because V's impact on Instagram extends far beyond his own posts. Kim Taehyung is widely recognized as one of the most influential fashion figures in the world, and his Instagram is the primary vehicle through which that influence operates. When V wears something, anything, it doesn't just sell out. It creates an entire trend. His fashion choices have been documented by Vogue, GQ, Harper's Bazaar, W Magazine, and virtually every major fashion publication on the planet, and the initial source of documentation is almost always his Instagram posts. The fashion content vertical on Instagram, which is one of the platform's most valuable and advertiser-friendly verticals, is measurably influenced by V's posting activity. When he posts a fashion-forward look, engagement across fashion-related hashtags spikes. Designer brand accounts see increased traffic. Fashion commentary content proliferates. He's essentially a one-man trend engine for one of Instagram's most important content ecosystems, and Meta's influence metrics capture this cross-vertical impact with precision. His association with luxury brands, particularly his role as a global ambassador for major fashion houses, creates a fascinating data intersection where organic celebrity influence and commercial brand engagement overlap. When V posts brand-adjacent content, the engagement patterns show characteristics of both authentic personal content and high-performing commercial content, which is essentially the holy grail that every brand on Instagram is chasing. The fact that V achieves this dual engagement signature organically, without paid promotion tags or sponsored content markers, makes his posts uniquely valuable in Meta's creator ecosystem. Now let's talk about the Jennie and V dating revelation and its social media aftermath, because whether you like it or not, this event produced one of the most extraordinary engagement datasets in Instagram's history. When news of their relationship broke and photos circulated across Meta's platforms, the engagement numbers were staggering, not just on posts directly related to the news, but across both artists' entire content archives. Old posts were suddenly getting millions of new interactions. Comment sections on months-old photos were flooding with new activity. The ripple effect extended to every account, even tangentially connected to either artist. From a pure data perspective, it was a masterclass in how personal narrative events can trigger platform-wide engagement cascades. NV's handling of the situation on social media, his refusal to be rattled, his continued posting of content on his own terms, his quiet dignity in the face of the most intense public scrutiny any idol has ever faced, actually increased his engagement rates in the following months. The audience didn't just stick around. They became more loyal, more protective, more engaged. His comments per post and saves per post metrics increased post-revelation, suggesting that the event deepened rather than damaged his connection with his audience. That kind of engagement resilience is extremely rare and is a powerful signal in Meta's influence algorithms. His solo music era added yet another dimension to his social media dominance. When V released Layover in September 2023, the Instagram engagement was nothing short of breathtaking. The album's aesthetic, dreamy, romantic, cinematic, was perfectly suited for Instagram's visual platform. Every track had a visual identity that translated beautifully into shareable content. Slow dancing became an Instagram Reels phenomenon, with the sound being used in millions of user-generated videos across the platform. The romantic, vintage aesthetic of the slow dancing music video inspired an entire wave of Instagram content creation. Couples recreating scenes, aesthetic mood boards, photography edits inspired by the color grading. V didn't just release a song. He released an Instagram aesthetic template that millions of users adopted and adapted, generating an engagement snowball that rolled across Meta's platforms for months. This slow dancing audio became one of the most used celebrity music sounds on Reels, which is a metric that Meta tracks with extreme precision because Reels is their primary competitive weapon against TikTok. Any creator whose content drives Reels creation at scale is essentially helping Meta fight its most important competitive battle, and V did this effortlessly. His pre-military Weverse and Instagram activity created what fans call the Taehyung archive, a vast number one Jimin. This is it, the moment you've been waiting for. The name that sits at the absolute pinnacle of Mark Zuckerberg's social media influence data for BTS. And if you've been paying attention, if you've watched J-Hope, Suga, RM, Jin, Jungkook, and V claim their spots on this list with numbers and achievements that would make any human being on Earth proud, then you already know that whoever sits at number one must be operating on a level so far beyond extraordinary that we might need to invent a new word for it. And that person is Park Jimin, the man from Busan, the contemporary dance prodigy who walked into big hit entertainment as a teenager and walked out as the most socially influential idol the digital world has ever measured. And we don't say that lightly. We don't say that with the caveat of in K-pop, or among boy bands, or in his generation. We say it with the full, unqualified, data-backed weight of Meta's entire analytical infrastructure behind it. Park Jimin is, according to Mark Zuckerberg's own platform data, the single most influential BTS member on social media. Period. Full stop. Crown him. And the reasons why are about to blow your mind into a dimension you didn't know existed. Let's start with the number that starts the conversation, because with Jimin, even the starting point is insane. Park Jimin has consistently held the title of the most followed K-pop idol on Instagram. Not sometimes. Not during certain periods. Consistently. His follower count doesn't just grow. It grows with a velocity and consistency that defies the natural plateau patterns that every other mega celebrity experiences. Most accounts at his scale see follower growth slow down over time as they approach market saturation. There are only so many people on Instagram, after all. But Jimin's growth curve has shown a remarkable resistance to this plateau effect. suggesting that he's continuously reaching new demographics and new markets that hadn't previously been exposed to his content. Meta's growth analytics team reportedly identified Jimin as one of a handful of creators globally whose audience expansion patterns suggest untapped market potential even at the 50 million-plus follower level. That means he's not just big, he's still growing at a rate that shouldn't be mathematically possible for someone already at the top. But followers are just the foundation. What makes Jimin the undisputed number one is what Meta calls total influence score, a composite metric that combines follower count, engagement rate, content virality, cross-platform amplification, cultural impact indicators, commerce influence, trend generation capacity, and audience quality metrics into a single, comprehensive influence number. And on this composite score, Jimin doesn't just lead among BTS members. He leads among virtually all individual creators on Meta's platforms globally. He competes with, and often exceeds, accounts backed by entire corporate teams, multi-million-dollar content budgets, and decades of brand building. And he does it as one person, with a phone, posting whenever his heart tells him to. The disparity between the resources behind most top-performing accounts and the zero-budget, pure authenticity approach of Park Jimin is something that has genuinely baffled social media strategists worldwide. Let's break down the engagement story, because this is where Jimin separates himself from every other name on this list, including V and Jungkook, who are already operating at historically unprecedented levels. Jimin's average engagement per post doesn't just beat benchmarks, it annihilates them. When Jimin posts a selfie, it doesn't gradually accumulate likes over hours and days the way normal high-performing content does. It detonates. The first-hour engagement on a Jimin post is so explosive and so concentrated that it creates what data scientists call an engagement singularity, a point of such intense, compressed interaction that it temporarily alters the behavior of Meta's recommendation algorithms on a global scale. His posts don't just trend in one country or one region. They trend everywhere, simultaneously, across every market where Instagram and Facebook operate. The global simultaneity of engagement on Jimin's content is a phenomenon that Meta has reportedly observed with only a handful of events in the platform's history, and most of those events were things like World Cup finals or presidential elections, not a single person posting a photo. When Jimin posts, the internet doesn't just react. It synchronizes. Millions of people across every time zone, every continent, every culture, all converging on one piece of content at the exact same moment. That's not influence. That's gravity. Now let's talk about what happened when Jimin released Face in March 2023, because this is the moment that cemented his position at number one beyond any shadow of doubt. Face wasn't just a solo album debut. It was a social media nuclear event. The lead single, Like Crazy, debuted at number one on the Billboard Hot 100, making Jimin the first Korean solo artist to achieve that milestone. And the social media response? It broke everything. The hashtag Like Crazy didn't just trend. It became the most used music-related hashtag on Instagram for that entire week. The dance challenge associated with the song generated over 1 billion views on Reels within the first month. The celebratory posts from fans, media outlets, fellow artists, and even other K-pop companies flooded every Meta platform with such volume that it measurably impacted global engagement averages for that period. But here's the detail that really matters from Meta's perspective. The engagement wasn't just high in volume. It was high in diversity. Jimin's Like Crazy success generated engagement from music communities, dance communities, Korean culture communities, pop culture communities, fashion communities, and general entertainment audiences simultaneously. The cross-vertical engagement spread of that single moment was so broad that it touched nearly every major content category on Instagram. And when one creator's content activates engagement across that many verticals at once, Meta's influence algorithms don't just take notice. They fundamentally reclassify that creator's influence tier. Jimin wasn't just promoted within the celebrity category. He was elevated to what internal Meta frameworks reportedly categorize as platform-level influence, meaning his activity is considered a variable that affects the entire platform's engagement health, not just his own metrics. And then came Muse in 2024. If Face was the earthquake, Muse was the tsunami that followed. Who? the pre-release single, became an instant Instagram Reel sensation. The sound went mega viral, not just within the BTS fandom, but across the general Instagram user base. Casual users who had no connection to K-pop, no awareness of BTS's history, no context for who Park Jimin even was. They were using his sound, creating content with his music, and driving engagement for his brand without even realizing they were part of the Jimin machine. And that is the ultimate marker of social media influence. When your content transcends your fan base and becomes part of the general cultural fabric of a platform. Most artists dream of having one viral moment that crosses over from fandom to mainstream. Jimin does it with virtually every major release. And who was perhaps the most dramatic example of this crossover effect in recent Instagram history? The song's audio was used in reels by beauty creators, travel creators, comedy creators, couple creators, pet creators, verticals that have absolutely nothing to do with K-pop. And each usage expanded Jimin's influence footprint into new audience territories that his content might never have reached through traditional distribution. Now let's address the phenomenon that social media analysts have started calling the Jimin effect. And yes, it's been written about in academic papers, marketing case studies, and industry reports. The Jimin effect refers to his documented, measurable ability to drive real-world outcomes through social media engagement at a scale that exceeds any other individual idol in history. Charity campaigns he supports see donation surges within hours of his posts. Social causes he mentions trend globally within minutes. Products he's associated with don't just sell out. They create supply chain disruptions. Tiffany & Company, the legendary jewelry house that selected Jimin as a global ambassador, reportedly saw social media engagement on their Instagram account increase by triple-digit percentages following the announcement. Their Jimin-related posts became the highest-performing content in the brand's entire Instagram history, a history that includes partnerships with some of the most famous faces in Hollywood and global entertainment. And the ripple effects extended beyond Instagram. Facebook engagement for Tiffany's pages spiked, Threads discussions about the brand surged, and the cross-platform amplification created a case study in celebrity partnership ROI that has been referenced by luxury marketing professionals worldwide. From Zuckerberg's perspective, Jimin isn't just a creator. He's a commerce engine that drives measurable business outcomes for brands operating on Meta's platforms. And that economic influence is a critical component of Meta's total influence scoring methodology. Let's talk about Jimin's live broadcasts, because this is another dimension where he absolutely dominates. Jimin's Instagram and Weverse lives consistently shatter concurrent viewer records. But it's not just the number of viewers, it's the behavior of those viewers. Real-time engagement during Jimin's lives, comments per second, heart reactions per minute, share rate during broadcast, reaches levels that Meta's live infrastructure has to actively manage to prevent server strain. His lives don't just attract audiences, they create events. Fans organize watch parties. Live translation accounts operate in real time to make his content accessible across language barriers. Screenshots and clips from his lives become their own viral content on Instagram and Facebook within minutes of the broadcast ending. A single Jimin live can generate enough derivative content to fuel Meta's engagement ecosystem for days afterward. And the emotional depth of his live interactions, his genuine warmth, his vulnerability, his ability to make millions of people feel like he's talking directly to them, creates engagement patterns characterized by exceptionally high comment depth and emotional intensity, metrics that Meta's sentiment analysis tools flag as indicators of deep creator-audience connection. That connection is the bedrock of sustained influence, and Jimin has built his own foundations so strong that even 18 months of military absence couldn't crack them. And let's talk about that military period, because what happened to Jimin's social media metrics during his enlistment is perhaps the most stunning data point on this entire list. When Jimin enlisted in December 2023, the conventional expectation was clear: his metrics would decline, his engagement would drop, his influence ranking would slip. That's what happens to every creator who goes dark for 18 months. Every creator except Park Jimin. Because during his military service, fan-driven engagement for Jimin content on Meta's platforms didn't just maintain, it actually showed growth in several key metrics. Fan projects kept his hashtags trending on a regular basis. Streaming campaigns for his existing content maintained view counts at levels that active artists would envy. Birthday celebrations, anniversary milestones, and fan-organized charity events in his name generated engagement spikes that rivaled active posting periods. The Army infrastructure built around maintaining Jimin's digital presence during his absence operated with such efficiency, such coordination, and such scale that Meta's data showed his account behaving as if it had an active creator behind it even when it didn't. No other artist in the history of social media has demonstrated this level of audience-sustained influence during a period of complete creator inactivity. It's unprecedented. It's unreplicable. And it's the ultimate proof that Jimin's influence isn't built on content. It's built on connection. A connection so deep, so genuine, so emotionally powerful that it continues to generate measurable digital impact even when the person at its center is completely offline. The fans aren't just engaging with content. They're maintaining a relationship with someone who made them feel seen, valued, and loved through a screen. And that relationship doesn't pause just because he stops posting. That is what separates number one from everyone else on this list. That is what Meta's data ultimately measures when all the metrics are weighted, all the algorithms are applied, and all the noise is filtered out. Not who posts the most, not who has the prettiest photos, not who generates the most controversy, but who has built the deepest, most resilient, most self-sustaining bond with the largest number of human beings on the planet. And the answer, according to every metric Mark Zuckerberg's empire can measure, is Park Jimin. Number one, the throne is his. And honestly, it's hard to imagine anyone, inside or outside of BTS, taking it from him anytime soon.
And there it is, folks, the complete list, the full countdown. 7 members, 7 ranks, one undeniable truth. BTS doesn't just use social media, they redefined it. They rewired its algorithms, shattered its records, broke its servers, and fundamentally changed what it means to be influential in the digital age. And the fact that Mark Zuckerberg's own platform data, the most comprehensive, most sophisticated engagement analytics system ever built by human beings, confirms what Army has been screaming for over a decade, that's not just validation, that's history. Let's take a step back and look at what we just witnessed, because when you zoom out from the individual rankings and see the full picture, something truly extraordinary emerges. J-Hope at number 7, the supernova who proved you don't need to be chronically online to leave a permanent mark on the internet. Suga at number 6, the silent genius whose scarcity-driven content strategy generated deeper engagement than creators who post 10 times a day. RM at number 5, the intellectual force who turned Instagram into a museum and made millions of people pick up a book because of a social media post. Jin at number 4, the beautiful chaos agent who broke every rule in the content creator playbook and still outperformed people who follow every rule religiously. Jungkook at number 3, the golden maknae whose engagement numbers broke mathematical models and whose mere existence moves entire economies. V at number 2, the living artwork whose visual content holds human attention longer than anything Meta's algorithm has ever seen from an individual creator. And Jimin at number 1, the connection king, whose bond with his audience is so deep, so powerful, so self-sustaining that it generates influence even when he's completely offline. 7 completely different approaches to social media, 7 completely different content styles, personalities, frequencies, and strategies, and all 7 of them are operating at levels that would place them among the most influential individual creators on Meta's platforms globally. Not just in K-pop, not just in music, globally. That's not a coincidence. That's not luck. That's the result of something that goes far deeper than algorithms and engagement metrics. It's the result of authenticity at scale. Because here's the thing that Zuckerberg's data reveals but can never fully explain. The reason BTS dominates social media isn't because they figured out the algorithm. It's because they never tried to figure out the algorithm. They just showed up as themselves. Hosok's sunshine, Yoongi's quiet intensity, Namjoon's thoughtfulness. Seokjin's chaos, Jungkook's passion, Taehyung's artistry, Jimin's warmth. Each member brought their real self to the platform, and the audience, all 40 million, 50 million, 60 million of them, responded not to a brand, not to a persona, not to a manufactured image, but to real human beings being genuinely, vulnerably, beautifully themselves in a digital world that rewards fakeness. And that is the lesson that every creator, every brand, every platform, and yes, even Mark Zuckerberg himself needs to take from this list. You can build the most sophisticated algorithm in the world. You can engineer the most addictive platform ever designed. You can spend billions on AI-driven content recommendation systems. But at the end of the day, the thing that moves people, the thing that makes them stop scrolling, start caring, and keep coming back isn't technology. It's connection. It's truth. It's 7 guys from South Korea who looked at the biggest digital stage in human history and decided that the best strategy was no strategy at all. Just honesty, just music, just love. BTS didn't conquer social media, they humanized it. And according to every number, every metric, and every data point that the most powerful tech company on earth can measure, that made them the most influential force the internet has ever seen. So the next time someone asks you why BTS matters, the next time someone dismisses them as just a boy band, the next time someone questions whether their influence is real or just hype, show them this list. Show them the data. Show them what happens when authenticity meets the algorithm, and then watch their jaw hit the floor. This has been the top 7 most influential BTS members on social media according to Mark Zuckerberg. Thank you for staying until the very end. If this blew your mind, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, share this with every ARMY you know, and drop a comment telling us, did your bias end up where you expected? We'll see you in the next one. Peace.